Oh my God. It's another episode of Top 10 Video.
Top 10 Video. Top 10
I am Robi. This is my unicorn, Hollipop.
I don't even know what that means, but I went.
The gun?
I guess I didn't mean
Because
to.
you were just trying to shoot me.
I was just trying to do something cool, and
it came out. I'm going to shoot my husband. That's like that's a thing, right? People used to do that. The old. You give them a wink and a bullet. A finger.
I think that's what you did to me when I said I love you.
A finger bullet. Nice. Okay. Yes, that was one of my finer moments. First time she mentioned that, I was not prepared. And I said I know, because I was going for the old Han Solo line, which apparently she was unfamiliar with. And as a result, yeah.
I'm still with him, so.
Yeah. But shockingly, I should say. No, this whole podcast, if this is your first episode with us, is me reliving the years that I worked at a mom and pop video shop called Top 10 Video. And every month we release an episode covering 1 week in a particular month that I was there. And we started in the fall of 1996, November, I believe, right?
I don't even remember. I'm just.
You don't remember. You're
just
totally out of it.
I just get off the couch and you're like, "Hey, let's record."
So. It's time to record. We have arrived at May 10th, 1997.
Okay.
So we're going to be covering
It's a good month.
Yes, May, in the merry month of May.
We're ending our freshman year of college.
Yes, we are, right before the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are we'll cover the top 10 video rentals for that week, and then we'll pick one of those movies to focus on that we actually rewatched. We'll do our best to make it work. So we'll do a little picture-in-picture here. Here we go. Top 10 video rentals, May 10th, 1997. And we're starting with number 10. And this was on the list last month.
Glimmerman, yeah.
But he was higher up on the list. I think he was like 4, right? Number 4. And
is that the gender that you're giving this movie? He was a 4?
Well, it's Steven Seagal and Keenan Ivory Wayans. I mean, you can't get more masculine than that, right? I mean, we got the guy who talks like this and the guy who talks like this. You know, that's...
Does Keenan talk like that?
Well, he's got a higher pitched voice than you would think.
I think Damon is more. Really?
So, but was Keenan not in Living Color, right?
Yeah,
or was that Damon? But Damon was in it too.
They were both in Living Color,
right? And their kids were in it too.
I don't think their kids were in it.
I'm pretty sure, right? No,
because they were pretty much like they were too young at the time.
You're right. I'm out of it. I know Jim Carrey was in it. 2 good cops, 1 bad situation.
I mean, aren't cops involved in every bad situation? Like, it seems like if they're good cops, they're going to be involved in more than 1 bad situation.
Well, I feel like, yeah. So this is actually a low-key movie. It's just like there's two good cops and just 1 bad situation they have to deal with.
Just 1. That sounds like a pretty good day.
It sounds like a good day, unlike Training Day, which we did watch. Let's see if I can get this to move, because it appears to not.
It's constipated.
It appears to not want to move. Okay, I definitely tried this on earlier for size, and it worked perfectly fine. There we go. There we go. Number 9 is Jackie Chan in Super Cop. Were you a Jackie Chan fan in the 90s?
I wasn't a fan in the 90s. I grew to appreciate him more because I never really watched him in the 90s, but I grew to appreciate him more as I watched him
Right.
later on. We watched a Jackie Chan movie the other night.
We did, just so you would have something to say when we got to this part.
Well,
of the
you
recording.
tried to watch it without me. I was in the kitchen doing woman things, I guess. And then you decided to put on a movie, and I'm like trying to watch
Well,
it.
it was an action movie, and I just assumed that you would not be into it, and so we were talking
it's about babies being switched at birth, though. That's like a Lifetime type thing. So I mean, you mix a Lifetime movie and an action movie, and boom, you get what was it? Twin Dragons.
Twin Dragons is the movie we watched yesterday, and I was trying to find Super Cop so that she could see a little bit of Super Cop, and it was not available anywhere, and so we watched Twin Dragons, which was a fun.
It was fun, yeah. I enjoyed watching
Jackie
it.
Chan's movies were, at least during this time period, were very much like live action cartoons. Mm-hmm. That's sort of what it felt like watching. But yeah, this was when he was making his big push in America. This was actually Chinese films that were just being dubbed in English and then re-released in the United States. And they were making, enough money that he kept doing it. Rumble in the Bronx, I think, was the first one that he did. And then I think that was a few years before this. And so now he's arrived at Super Cop, which is actually Police Story Part 3 in China.
Okay.
And in America, they called it Super Cop. So, all right. This is working really well. Here we go. Number 8, Extreme Measures. We've got Gene Hackman partnering up with Hugh Grant this time around. And Gene was basically the elder statesman, and he was just sort of teaming up with all these hot young actors, because he's also on the list with another movie we covered last month, the John Grisham film.
Oh, A Time to Kill?
Not A Time to Kill. No, he wasn't in that one. The one with Chris O'Donnell. We've talked about it already.
Oh, I remember talking about Chris O'Donnell's nipples.
Yes. We'll get to it in a second.
The nipples or
the nipples
movie?
and the movie.
Okay.
But extreme.
Do you have a picture of the nipples that you're gonna show?
I do not. No.
Maybe you can in editing find.
I could, but I did that last episode.
No, I'm talking about like his nipples.
Oh, his actual nipples.
Well, if there's evidence.
I don't know. All I know is Extreme Measures. I don't even know if I watched this movie. I don't remember it. The tagline does not really give you much information.
It gives you a lot of information. Not all surgery is intended to cure.
Okay, so why else would you have surgery?
One of them is clearly going to get breast implants or Brazilian butt lift.
So wait.
I'm betting on Gene Hackman.
Is that not a cure, though, to some sort of a problem? Breast implants is a cure for women who feel inadequate with the size of their breast, right?
I suppose.
Right. So what type of surgery would not be intended to cure? The only thing I can think of is organ theft, right?
Okay, that might be right.
Maybe that's what this is about. I have no idea. I don't remember this movie at all.
So if you were to have an organ stolen, what organ would you have stolen?
If I had to choose?
If you had to choose.
Obviously my appendix.
Okay.
Because that's the one organ you could do without.
Okay.
Right? That's why, if you have an appendicitis, they take that out. It's no big deal.
Yeah, but I think you still need it for something. I don't remember what it is, but...
Okay. All right, number 7.
The Ghost.
This one is also new on the charts here. The Ghost in the Darkness. This would have been my pick to watch had I picked from this list, because I let you pick this week, or this month, I should say, and you picked another movie, which we'll get to in a second. The Ghost in the Darkness, I loved this movie when I was younger. Yeah, Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer versus a couple of lions. And supposedly this was based on a true story. In the wilds of Africa, these guys are hunting lions.
I think those are the best movies, the ones that are based on true stories.
Right.
At least I think.
Well, we'll see. Because the movie we're talking about today is also supposedly based on a true story. All right, number 6. This was on last month's list and sort of dropped down a few spots. It was actually number 2 It's dropped to number 6 in a month, and it's Denzel and Meg being courageous under fire. Yeah, 2 thumbs up. Again, this was
from the director of Legends of the Fall and Glory.
Yeah, is that Ed Zwick? Is that the director? I'm forgetting right now.
I don't know.
Directed Legends of the Fall and Glory. This is the other movie with Gene Hackman and a up and coming young actor, The Chamber, with Chris O'Donnell and Gene Hackman here.
Clearly,
I have nothing else.
It's only a one-day
rental. We
rental.
really talked about this
That's
cover
a lot of
ad
pressure to
nauseum
watch
last
in
time.
one day.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about this, but time is apparently running out. Number 4, this is new on the list. Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Shakespeare has never been this sexy on screen.
So says Peter Travers from Rolling Stone. Peter Travers is no longer with Rolling Stone. I don't think he is anymore. I think they're firing all the movie critics now, which is sad. But yeah, did you watch this? This was very popular when this came out.
I really didn't care for it that much.
I never liked this movie.
Yeah.
I never liked it.
I really don't want Shakespeare to be sexy on screen.
Well, if any of Shakespeare's works should have a right to be sexy, I feel like it should be Romeo and Juliet, though, right? The original Romeo and Juliet film.
The one with Olivia Hussey.
The one with Olivia Hussey, directed by Franco Zeffirelli. Is it Franco Zeffirelli? I believe so. Am I getting that right? I that's a sexy movie, I think. This one, I feel the fact that they made the two families sort of different gangs, and it was a lot of...
They modernized it way too much.
It was a lot of gunfights and stuff, and they call their guns their swords because they're still using the Shakespearean language. Baz Luhrmann is hit or miss for me, right? Because I think we both agree that we enjoy Moulin Rouge, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Same guy made this movie. This is pre-Moulin Rouge. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that I just don't... I just can't. I don't get it. It's just weird. It's kind of a weird mashup of the sort of criminal genre with Shakespeare. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's strange to me.
It was weird for me too.
But it's got an interesting soundtrack, and it was very, very popular.
I mean, it had Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes in it.
Yes. Yeah, go Claire Danes. We were actually watching Homeland, which is her big television show that she did many, many, many years after Romeo and Juliet.
It's really good.
All right, number 3, dropping down a couple of spots. It was number 1 last month, the week we covered. The First Wives Club. We've got just a trio of lovely ladies here. Bette Midler, Goldie Hawn, and Diane Keaton just smoking it up. Smoking some cigars. It's all about divorce.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Me either.
I got nothing. I was not a fan of this movie, and it hasn't really... I mean, I haven't seen it in years. Maybe it's a masterpiece. I don't know how it holds up today. The Long Kiss Goodnight. It's actually moved up, and it's number 2 now. Rennie Harlan directing his wife, Gina Davis, with Samuel L. Jackson along for the ride.
Yeah.
Very fun action movie. And number 1... in the very merry month of May is Sleepers, brand new on the list, shoots to the top of the charts. And I feel like this box art is basically saying, look at everyone who's in this movie. I feel like next to Kevin Bacon's name, there should be, not pictured.
Well, I mean, after you watch the movie, you will see why.
Yeah.
He wasn't pictured.
Yeah. Oh, there's lots of reasons. But I mean, at the end of the day, you could still show his face, even if he looks really evil.
He is a really good actor.
I mean, think about it. You've got Dustin Hoffman in this movie, but he doesn't come into the film until probably like the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, he's not really in it as much as everybody else.
Maybe the last 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wasn't he coming off of Rain Man and all that other stuff? So
this is
like everybody's like, oh, you got Dustin Hoffman in your picture?
This is quite a few years after Rain Man, because we're in 97 now. Rain Man was like early 90s, I think like 91, 92, if I'm not mistaken. And ironically, you said Rain Man, same director, Barry Levinson, directed Rain Man, also directed Sleepers, and he also directed one of my favorite movies, The Natural, which is a baseball film starring Robert Redford that I tried to get her to watch, and She,
I didn't say no.
no, you watched it. I think you fell asleep though.
Will you show it to me when it's late at night?
We watched it in the afternoon. It was.
Well, did we?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh.
In all fairness, I showed you the director's cut, which is apparently not as good as the theatrical cut. But anyway, yeah, Sleepers. This is the movie that we watched, and this is the movie that we selected. Well, this is the movie that you selected, I should say.
I selected it because it was number one on the list.
It was number one on the list, and you looked at the IMDb ratings, and you said that it also had the highest IMDb rating, which I don't know how much stock I put into those ratings.
Well, it was a really good film. After watching it, I think I made a good choice. It's a very serious film, so we can't really make too many jokes about it, but
yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed it.
So what do you have to say about Sleepers? Should we say a little bit about the plot? I thoroughly enjoyed the first half of the movie, the part where they're kids pre-accident, pre-prison, and even into the prison stuff at first, until it gets super weird and sort of disturbing. And I should probably look at these character names because there's a lot of characters.
Well, I'll go through the plot while you look for that.
Go ahead.
So this movie basically is about a bunch of boys. They're really good friends, and then they're up to all kinds of hijinks. Up to they do some naughty things. Well, one day they do something really.
My favorite naughty thing they do is sneak into the confessional.
Oh yeah,
and they pretend to be the priest.
And pretend to be.
That was great. And actually, the woman, she's like a slut or like a. I don't know if she's a prostitute, but she's basically sleeping around. She's a married woman and she's sleeping around, and she's confessing to these young boys, but she knows it's the young boys. She's like giving them their titillation for the day, which is kind of disturbing if you think about it too much.
And the priest pretty much takes these boys under his wing. Like
Father Bobby.
He pretty much cares a lot about these boys. But these boys, they make a really stupid decision by deciding to do this sort of heist where one guy would distract the hot dog cart guy while the other ones steal the hot dog cart.
Yes.
And they steal it, but and when the hot dog cart guy catches up to them, they're like at the end of like the subway stairwell, and they're holding it there, kind of joking and laughing and thinking it's funny, but they can't hold it, and then they end up letting go, and it ends up hitting this guy in the waiting for the subway, or coming back from the subway.
He's exiting the subway.
He's exiting the subway.
Yeah.
And he is critically injured.
I think he's killed.
I thought he was critically injured. Oh, I don't think he was killed.
I feel like if he wasn't, they wouldn't have gone to prison.
I mean, critically injuring somebody is still bad.
I don't remember if they say if the guy died or not.
I'm pretty sure that he was just critically injured. But I mean, you could be right. I could be wrong.
I don't remember. It seemed like a pretty bad accident.
Regardless, it was pretty bad. So they ended up having to go to court, and the judge sentences them to time at this juvenile facility for wayward boys, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the entire conflict of the story begins.
Yes. Creepy guards. Creepy Kevin Bacon shows up, and there's some molestation that goes on here. It's the way it's done is very disturbing. You don't actually ever see anything, but it's just enough that you know what's going on. There's a great shot of the camera sort of pulling back down this dark corridor, and you can still hear the voices of the boys kind of screaming, and then the guards, and this is a dark movie. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how many movies before this one dealt with child abuse and things. This
sexual abuse against
specifically
boys.
Sexual abuse,
men against boys in particular.
But what's interesting, is the cast that they got for this film. Robert De Niro is playing the priest, Father Bobby. and then all the guys who play the older boys, were just the who's who of male white actors of the time. Billy Crudup in his first film role as Tommy. We've got Ron Eldard, who plays the elder John. Dustin Hoffman shows up as a lawyer. His character is kind of a throwaway. I feel like anybody could have played that role. He's playing a bad lawyer, but he's supposed to be bad.
Yeah.
And all of he basically is following Brad Pitt's script.
Trying to lose the case on purpose.
Yes.
Because he wants everybody to know what these guys did. Two of the boys grew up to kind of be gangsters. So
yes,
they end up actually they're in a bar and they happen to see Kevin Bacon's character come in. And then all those memories flood of everything that he had done to them. So they just shoot him.
Yeah.
In front of everybody.
In the restaurant.
And then they plead not guilty.
Yeah.
Even though they have tons of witnesses and they still pled not guilty.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole point of the trial, sort of the mock trial. Well, it's not a mock trial, but it's sort of a rigged trial that Brad Pitt's character is trying to do. He basically wants Dustin Hoffman's character to win the trial, and he's going to throw the case, so to speak.
Even though it was bad for his career.
Yes, bad for his career. But we should probably mention that this movie is based on a novel by an author, Lorenzo Carcaterra, and he wrote this book called Sleepers. And basically the book, I've never read it, but supposedly the book says that this is a true story. I think a lot of the narration in the movie is ripped straight from the novel. It seemed that way anyway.
But the state said, "Oh, there's no records of any incidences like this occurring and everything." Yeah. But of course, they wouldn't want that getting out.
Yeah, but the issue is that you had a priest involved. You had, he said in the novel he changes the names of all the people involved, and he even changed the location. But it's clearly in New York, right? Is it? Or they were raised? Is it the Bronx? Near the Bronx?
It was New York or some big city like that. And what actually won the case? What made Dustin Hoffman's character win the case?
Danny Snyder, that's his name.
Was the fact that the priest ended up lying and being an alibi for the characters who shot the man.
Yeah.
So everybody believed the priest because the priest found out what had happened to the boys and he prayed on it and decided that the right thing to do was to lie. To break one of the commandments, one of the holy freaking commandments. Is thou shalt not lie a commandment?
No, it's not. But one of the commandments is thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which is technically kind of lying.
I guess that's true.
So,
one scene that really stuck out with me in this movie because it reminded me of something that happened to me in school. At the very beginning, when the boys at lunch, when he just comes to the juvenile facility, mm-hmm. This kid hits the tray out of his hand, and Kevin Bacon's character made him eat the food off the floor. We had this one lady at this school that I went to that was a lunch monitor. She would walk around the table and you had to clean your tray. Well, back when I was a kid, I hated green beans and the girl next to me hated green beans.
Okay.
So we stuck the green beans in our milk cartons to kind of hide the fact that we didn't eat our green beans. The girl next to me got caught and the lady made her eat the green beans out of her milk carton that had milk still in it.
So milky green beans.
Yes. And I always thought about that and I thought how sick this lady was, to force kids to just eat.
Well, it could be sick or she was just like, you need calcium and you need whatever vitamins are in green beans.
So is that why Kevin Bacon made them eat the food off the floor?
No. Well, that was much darker than your story.
It was much darker, but I still think that lady was a bitch.
Yeah, well, I'm not doubting that she was, but I'm just saying it's a similar situation. Yeah, it's a power move. It's the person in authority, sort of.
And that's what I think that the
You know.
sexual abuse was basically, and because it was four men in cahoots with each other.
Yeah, that's what was very strange, right?
Yeah, there were
That it was kind of like this gang of guards that were just like, you know what, we're just gonna, get all these young boys to.
Yes, like to have that many people just go along with it. It was insane.
It was
Peer pressure, I guess.
yeah. If you blink, you'll miss him. But Jeffrey Donovan plays one of the creepy guards in this, and I'm a huge fan of his because he was in a couple of TV shows that I watched. Touching Evil, which was a USA show with Vera Farmiga back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Bruce Willis actually was a producer on this. It was a great series, only lasted one season. And then later he would play, what was his name? I can't remember the name of the character. Burn Notice. He would play the lead character, Michael. I can't remember his last name, but his character's name was Michael. And he played a sort of a rogue spy in that USA show. But I noticed him, and I'm like, oh, look, it's Jeffrey Donovan. And I'm like, oh, look, he's playing a complete creepazoid.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Suffice it to say, when these young boys get older, after this whole Kevin Bacon incident happens where they kill that guard, they basically agree that they're going to get revenge on the rest of the guys, the rest of the guards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the second half of the movie, which I did not enjoy nearly as much as the first half.
I felt like they should have gotten worse punishment, but I did feel good that they got some revenge.
Well, it was good. I mean, most
and then
of them,
it came out,
Yeah, but I just felt like the beginning of the movie, the young actors who played the young boys, to me, kind of kicked the ass of all the older actors, the movie star actors, in my opinion.
Well, I think they had an easier time acting because of the events that were happening to them. So they had more emotion to display, and they had more opportunity script-wise to show off their acting chops. Older, they didn't. They're portraying men that have been damaged by what had happened to them. So you have to play somebody numb, somebody guarded. So, I mean, I feel like they did fine.
Yeah. No, I mean the kids did great. You're right. They did have more emotional scenes, like young Shakes. I don't know the actor, but he was great. Jason Patrick, who plays older Shakes. But the guy who played young Shakes is Joe Perino, and he was fantastic in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's got the closest relationship with Robert De Niro's priest character, Father Bobby. Father Bobby is actually a really great character. He was actually probably my favorite character in the whole movie. Mm-hmm. I think just because he was consistent, In
Jason Patrick's defense, though, he was pretty much the character that was the narrator. Because he was the narrator, I feel like he didn't really have that much opportunity to blossom as an actor in the movie. I felt like he was just there pretty much to propel the plot, and he did his job.
Yeah, he was okay.
So I mean, I'm not complaining. Jason Patrick, if you're out there, if you're bored enough to listen to this podcast,
he hasn't been doing many things, right? I think he still makes a couple of
thought you did great.
C movies. Yeah, we've got Brad Renfro playing young Michael. He later becomes Brad Pitt. So two Brads playing two Michaels.
And you told me Brad Renfro killed himself.
Brad Renfro, well, he died of an overdose.
Of an overdose.
So we assume that it was something
that was sad,
purposeful. But yeah, he was one of those up and coming actors. Those type of stories like Heath Ledger, and I'm trying to think of other actors who River Phoenix. That had all this potential and actually achieved quite a bit.
Isn't that like the age 26?
Yeah. I think Ledger made it past 26, but yeah, there were a lot of those guys in the 90s who short-lived careers, Their flame burned brightly for a moment and then was extinguished. But yeah, we also should mention that we do have a woman in this movie.
Minnie Driver.
Minnie Driver plays Carol, and she is basically a young girl who kind of made her. I don't. It seems like she dated all of the boys at various times, but perhaps she really had a soft spot for Shakes, although they never actually got together except for the one time and that's where she had her child. Right? Is that?
I don't remember that part.
You don't remember that part?
Yeah, that part like really wasn't, because it was such an afterthought in the movie.
It was.
I really didn't focus so
It's at
much
the
on.
end.
I was still trying to process everything that had happened to the boys when she was going through that. I'm like, okay, you had a baby, whatever. Like, these guys were abused by Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon and Friends, we should mention. It's
not really Kevin Bacon. Real Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Seems like a really cool, nice dude.
Knox. Well, according to Kevin Bacon, the making of the film, even the scenes that were super dark were actually kind of lighthearted. He's like, him and the boys, the young actors actually were cutting up and acting the fools and, just kind of being goofy. And he said it was kind of weird, like offset, like off camera, we'd be joking around and then all of a sudden they'd be like, all right, rolling. And we'd have to play these really intense scenes. Anything else we want to say about the movie? I mean, I think Shakes' father, played by Bruno Kirby, was kind of interesting. He was a complete 1950s father, replete with, abusing his wife, going after her with the belt. And
yeah, all of these boys came from pretty
rough,
messed up homes.
Yeah, rough domestic situations.
So,
It was kind of one thing after the other. And at the same time, they felt like they had a good life until they go to this juvie thing. I mean, but they're working for a mobster and, there's all these other plot lines that sort of interweave here. It's super interesting, though, that the author claims that this is a true story. He stands by his word.
I think he's telling the truth, because who's going to lie
about this? About
that? Yeah. I feel like
it's not a subject that you just like, yeah, I'm going to try to get.
Most men wouldn't be coming out
involuntarily make up a story like this. I mean, why would you? Why would you want to do it? It just, I don't know. It just seems
there's got to be truth in there somewhere, because it was pretty detailed.
Yeah. So what are you going to rate Sleepers 1 through 10, top 10 video?
I'd give it a 7.5.
7.5 out of 10 for Hollipop.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go 7 out of 10.
Okay. So you liked it more than your...
I mean, here's the thing. I appreciated the production is really good. I mean, Barry Levinson's a great director. You just read the list of movies that he's made and he's got so many great films. I think this is a lesser Barry Levinson. I think if you had replaced some of the actors with lesser known actors, like if you didn't have DeNiro playing the priest part, if you didn't have Dustin Hoffman playing that really very small part as the lawyer, it's just everywhere you turn, it's a famous face, and I feel like that's that adds to it, and that there's a reason why the names are so large on the VHS box, is because that's what makes this movie, I think, even more so than the storyline, is what the actors do with the material, with the exception of Jason Patric for me.
Leave Jason Patric
alone. But yeah, he's okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go 7. It's barely. I'm really at probably like 6.9. But
well, I thought about even going up to an 8, but I settled at 7.5 because I would probably be uncomfortable to watch it again.
Yeah. Oh, I'm never,
because it's not a comfortable movie to watch.
No. Well, that said, the first half before the molestation starts with the boys, to me that was my favorite part of the movie, because it does a really good job of
showing memory,
showing that time period. It's very well done. It's the time period when movies, you totally bought it. You know, it just felt like you were back in that time period, and
it has verisimilitude.
It does. The verisimilitude was great, and I did watch this movie when I worked at the video store. It took me a while because it was popular for a bit. We had I think 3 or 4 copies of the movie, and it was always out. And so sleepers.
I wonder if they showed the movie at the juvenile detention facility on movie nights.
I would hope not.
You boys better behave.
Oh my God!
Because back when we were kids, it's like they didn't care what movies they showed us sometimes.
Oh, never. It was very whatever was available. I watched Rambo 3 in
school.
PE class.
At a Christian school.
It was the TV version of it, but I just remember our PE teacher recorded it the night before. And
did he connect it to his lesson?
He was like, it's raining.
All right, we're going to learn commando roles,
We're going to watch Rambo 3, and you're just going to...
You couldn't get away with this now.
No.
You could show like maybe one scene if you got it pre-approved, and you would have to show how it was connected to your lesson.
Right. And then somebody had commercial duty and had to get up and fast forward the commercials.
So the teacher wasn't even like getting up and doing that.
No.
What was the teacher doing?
He was grading papers or something. It was
a PE coach grading papers?
Well, he also was the math teacher.
Oh,
so.
that's right.
Yeah.
So you didn't do well at math because he was the math teacher.
No. He was the good math teacher. But the problem is I had a bad math teacher for Algebra 1, and I had the good math teacher for Algebra 2, but I didn't know anything because I had a bad,
So how do you know he was good if you didn't know anything?
Well, because he actually knew how to do the problems. My Algebra 1 teacher would not.
Maybe he was just good at pretending.
She would get him. No, she would get him to come across the hallway and do the problems on the board for us because she didn't know how to figure it out. Yeah, that's how bad she was. She was supposed to be an English teacher. I digress. Anyway, that's May of 1997, and we'll be back next month with summer. June. We'll be hitting June of 1997.
So, so I agreed to do this with you, but I honestly... So we're doing basically every month that you worked at the video store.
Yes.
So what happens when we run out of months?
Well, the podcast is over.
Okay.
It ends. This podcast will have an end, but here's the issue. We only do one a month, and we're only covering a month. I worked at the video store for 6 years.
Oh, okay.
So that's 72
episodes. Okay.
So we're not even close to...
So it's like, this is going to be a 6-year podcast.
Potentially.
Okay. All right.
Or, something will happen where we'll become super rich and we'll do more than one episode a month.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when we're super rich?
I don't know. We could win the lottery.
We haven't been playing.
Well, you can't win if you don't play.
Well, I've been investing money in stocks and stuff.
Can't win if you don't play. All right, folks. Peace. There she goes. The Top 10 Video Podcast is produced by D. Robi and is a part of the Introverse Podcast Network.